Let's move. Blaze of justice. We stand as one. Are you gonna give me orders?
Hello everyone and welcome back to the TeamLiquid StarLeague Season 5, round of 16, our second broadcast day of this tournament, where the TeamLiquid players are apparently on a roll, Sean. I mean, 6-0 starting off the day. Fantastic performance by both Uthermal and Clem.
And what we could say right now is that Terran undefeated today. Undefeated going into this match, which I feel like was one of the hardest ones to call if you look at the brackets. I mean, Trap versus TY. Both these players are honestly in great form. They've been putting up good results. Trap has had, maybe I'd say some losses that some people didn't expect as much, and maybe some wins against Maru that maybe caused a little bit of overhype. It doesn't change the fact that Trap is an extremely solid Protoss. I don't actually know too much about TY's style in this matchup. I mean, I know both of them to be mostly standard, but we've already seen so much weirdness today. What are your thoughts on it?
I'm with you. I looked at the bracket. People asked me to make predictions, obviously, because Dario put me on the spot in the true or false game.
What a bastard, you know?
Yeah. He loves disagreeing with me, and now apparently he disagrees before I even said anything, which I'm not surprised by, Dario. I see how it is. I felt relatively confident about most of my picks. I was obviously wrong about the Uthermal one, but I still felt that was a reasonable choice. I mean, Zest is in general a beast, and Uthermal struggles in the matchup, but maybe the fact that Zest just doesn't know how Uthermal plays really caught him off guard there. But this was one where I was like, all right, Trap. A lot of the pro players, especially in the European scene, have said in the past that they think that Trap is the best Protoss versus Terran player in the world. I've heard that more than once. He did, of course, beat Maru at the Introductory Masters in Katowice as well. And I think that TY was in that group too. And I think he also was Innovation or TY. Either way, he was fantastic in that matchup, but he lost the other series, so he didn't advance.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was really debating and arguing with myself for quite some time, but in the end, I decided to give a small edge here to TY. I don't know. I just feel like the Terrans have been performing better against Protoss. I feel that TY is in good shape. I feel Trap has been a tiny bit shaky. But I don't know, man. It's so hard to call. I'm totally with you on that one.
I feel like I'm going to say, I guess, Trap. And I mean, I've heard that, Trap best Protoss versus Terran, but I feel like I've seen him have sexier Protoss versus Zerg games. I don't know if this is just like the optical illusion that the games are dramatic. And whenever Trap wins versus Terrans, it can sometimes just look a little stompy. And I think I'm going to be trying to contrast what's different about Trap's opening versus Zest's opening. Maybe see if there's some small things that we're missing. Because, I mean, Trap is not going to be doing anything too outrageous at the outset of any of these games, I'd imagine.
No, I feel like when I think of Trap and when I think of Zest, for instance, I feel like Trap is a little bit quicker and smoother on his transitions into Storm or maybe a Colossus. But I feel quite often he'll open up in a similar way. It's like, okay, we have Blinkstalkers, once in a while an Oracle or something. But most of the time, okay, we have Blinkstalkers, we have Zealots, and there's only, bam, there's that Prism with 3 High Templars inside of it as well, right? And that, of course, has a really big impact. I think this is going to be one hell of a best of 5. I refuse to believe that this is going to be a 3-0 because I don't even know who's going to win. So how could it be a 3-0 shot?
Well, I'm sure hoping for something as epic as that last DRG Clem match. And this is exactly the sort of matchup that we'd imagine we'd get it. Here in Simulacrum, in the top left-hand corner, the Terran player, it's TY.
And in the right bottom side, a man who is shameless. He thinks he's anonymous in this tournament, Sean. He's not. He may be sitting under a barcode, but we all know the Protoss player here is Trap.
Yeah, I mean, he has his clan tag as Trap, man. And then he names himself a barcode. You're missing the whole point, man. Either way, we see some early scouting from Trap just to make sure there's no sorts of proxy nonsense. And, I've always wanted to ask you this, Kevin. Like, since I met you, I've always wanted to ask about how instead of saying bottom right, you say, like, right bottom.
I know. Somebody else has pointed it out to me like a while ago.
Yeah, wait, is this because of like, you know?
It's because I suck, Sean.
Dutch?
That's
Yeah,
why.
I mean, I don't
it's
know.
like,
Like, is
okay, the literal translation to Dutch would be rechts beneden, so right bottom. And for some reason, and somebody has pointed this out to me a couple months ago, and I was like, huh, that's funny. So I've been wrong like 9 years in a row. They're like, yeah, kind of. I was like, okay, bottom right. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try to work on it, but it's still, I mean, I've been saying right bottom and like left top for so long that I still get it wrong.
That's your calling card. Like, they don't change the bat signal to something else, okay? Like, you got to keep saying left top. Well, because, I mean, it's one of those things where if you say left top, I know what you're saying to me. I know. Like, there's no confusion. It's just there's something weird in terms of the ordering in English where, like, you just don't do it in that.
All right. I'm going to try to get it right in game 2. I'm glad that you pointed out now. Otherwise, I would have been getting it wrong for the next 8 hours. You know, I go on a roll as well, where it's like, okay, this is going well. Let's just stick to with what we know. That's like, even if what we know is wrong, we'll just sticking with it.
Well, I don't know. It's weird because, like, you wouldn't say like a small. You would say a small red chair, but you wouldn't say a red small chair.
No.
Like, for some reason, that's just like feels wrong in English, even though it's technically like totally fine. So I'm just going to say UBU, Roddy. I just always wanted to know, and I guess it's because in Dutch you do the right and the left first. Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
Wow, smarter every day with Roddy. Look at this.
So we do have a Stargate opening by Trap here in the first game on Simulacrum, which I'm not super shocked by. I did say like he likes his Oracle opening from time to time. I don't think we're gonna see like a Stargate opening 4 or 5 games in a row if we get that far in this series. I really think it's just to keep the Terran player honest and make sure that TY can't go super greedy. Because if as a Terran player, you know 100% of the time it's going to be Twilight first. I mean, then you can just start cutting insane amount of corners. You can start making army movements that technically don't make any sense. And this kind of feels like one of them to me. What are those Marines? Okay, this is like one of those little weird Marine Hellion pushes. But this also means he's got like no anti-air at home, other than some Widowmine speed.
Ooh. And also an Oracle is perfect for annihilating these kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
We see the Marines starting to move forward, and it looks like, oh, no second Oracle. There's the second Oracle. The attack begins, Adept gets targeted, and boom, here comes the Oracle. Gonna try to follow along with those Hellions, pick them off to prevent too much probe damage. The Marines at the front, very nice control by Trap, very nice micro, just ensuring that everything comfortably stays alive, and I love this. Before all the units were dead, Trap is already sending a probe to the third base.
Yeah, that's a really clean start. I mean, he lost one Adept. The Adept is not even important anymore. You just use that Adept initially to scout a little bit, so you'll gladly lose the Adept. I think he lost 1 probe. Is that it? No, 2 probes have gone down in this game, but that's still insane. Both Oracles are still out on the map. They're still alive. Look at this random probe right now. Sees the Widow Mine. And now, obviously, it's important for Trap that he does keep track of that medevac that's heading towards his main, because everything has been on point so far. Don't end up losing 10 probes now to this Widow Mine drop.
Widow Mines unload. First one unloads on the far side of the Nexus, but the one by the probes, ooh, not the best hits. 3 kills and 1 kill on the Widow Mines, respectively. But these Oracles that you'd normally think would be some sort of harassment opportunity for the Protoss are just turning out to be defensive gods.
Yeah, the only thing I'm a bit sad about for Trap there is that he didn't get the medevac, because that Widow Mine even did damage to the medevac. Oh, well, spoke too soon. There you go. That's awesome.
No, it happens to every caster at least once in a cast. Look at that medevac get away as the missiles flying to do the finishing blow on the medevac.
I think that's the icing on the cake there. You really want to get those medevacs. They are important. TY is going to try his luck one more time, but Trap is just paying attention at this point. Oh, okay, TY is trying to get max value out of his mine drop. A lot of lost mining time, and he does get 1 probe in the end. Well, he's about to get 1 probe, right?
Yes. Oh, thank God. Not twice in 1 cast, please.
Okay, I do actually think, as silly as it sounds, that this was a good follow-up mine drop. It may not have seemed that fantastic because he didn't get a single probe with the first one, but that was a lot of lost mining time. Obviously, Trap is really occupied in dealing with that stuff, so the Oracles are not active. I actually think that was acceptable, especially because the medevac survived as well.
Yeah, and I think that, like, you can almost point to the success of what TY's been doing by what has notably not happened. Double Oracle at the start of the game. The Oracle has not left within like a foot of those 3 Nexuses since the game began. When you have those early attacks, yeah, you might deal no damage because there's an Oracle, but the Oracle had to spend all the energy killing those units, which means nothing in the main base can get threatened. And I mean, look in TY's main base. There's 1 Widow Mine, no turret, no extra defenses. I don't even think there's another Widow Mine at the natural expansion. You just feel safe as Terran. And with all this extra time bought, TY has now built up a huge amount of infrastructure, 5 barracks in the main base, getting tanks, getting a starport with an add-on for extra medevacs.
I'm also shocked with how quick this Templar Archives is now. Like, we did already briefly touch on that in the beginning of this game. But I was like, yeah, he likes to get high Templars quickly. He's smooth with his transitions. This is really quick. Like, going up to 3 bases as quickly as he did. A lot of gateways. 67 probes, by the way, for Trap already.
Wow.
He is moving out. I have the feeling that this is just to be annoying. I mean, these Oracles, they're sitting on a ludicrous amount of energy because they just haven't done much this game. Okay, I don't like this attack by Trap.
Wow.
Trap, what are you doing?
Man.
So unnecessary. What?
Well, okay, here's going to be my attempt to understand this attack, which is if you have an opponent that has gone early aggression into follow-up aggression, you know, this Marine Hellion into mine drops. Oh, careful. Oh, what? Okay, a little bit of weirdness there. I mean, doing the cute blink trick to avoid the mine damage, but then leaving all the other ones nearby enough that they still take damage? Like, I don't know, I mean...
and the tank as well that's shooting on them.
Yeah,
okay.
Either way. Yeah.
What I'm mostly worried about here for Trap is that those 2 Oracles, they represented his map presence and his map vision, right? They had a lot of energy. They could have dropped like 17 revelations in a row. With his style, his robo is super late, as we can see on the production tab. So at this point, I feel like he's kind of blind, man. And as a Protoss player, you never want to be blind against the Terran, because I feel like there is potential for TY to maybe outmaneuver Trap at this point.
You know, I got rudely interrupted by Trap microing Stalkers, but, you know, like what I was noting earlier about the super fast High Templars, if your opponent does aggression into aggression into aggression, the biggest thing that they're low on as Terran is barracks. They have had to spend all their money producing these units. They can't get the barracks up, so you're probably not going to be under a lot of threat for a large amount of Marines, so you can go for a fast Templar archive, begin stockpiling that, and know that you more or less will have enough units on a small number of gateways to defend these. And at this point in time, we see that tank count, still not super high, a small amount of Marines and medevacs sort of poking around. Trap is set up okay, and the observers are coming out right now, but I mean, right now is when TY is going to begin kicking into high gear, and I'm curious if you think that Trap actually has enough units, enough juice to be able to hold this off.
I mean, obviously there is micro potential with the War Prism and the Storms inside of it. I think this is going to be one of these fights where it just comes down to execution, right? I think if the Storms are massive, Trap can win. But if the EMPs are on point, I actually think that CY might be able to stand his ground here. I don't know if running into the tanks is really what you want to do here.
Now, this positioning for Trap, I love being here as Protoss. And if you're taking the middle bottom base, you know, like this is a nice opportunity to just extend an economic lead, but this is a really good position from TY. So many buildings preventing any good access for the Zealots. They're getting ripped to shreds. Storms go down, one whiffs, one does okay, but I mean, Trap's army is just not that big right now. But gosh, I guess a couple of those late storms managed to deal just enough damage. I'm not entirely sure how Trap was able to note that he could break through here successfully, but at the end of the day, TY does have enough units, is able to clean everything up, and doesn't lose that command center at the front.
Did lose 20 SCVs. I'm totally with you. I was like, Trap, what is this? Are you sure about this? And he's like, yeah, I'm sure. I'll even forward blink. And I'm like, what? But in the end, the Zealots did get a couple of great engagements on the right side as well on those tanks. It felt that TY was kind of fighting all over the place. I am still not sure if I was the biggest fan, especially because those were at first the only High Templars he had, but he apparently wiped in a couple at home already. So I think it was good enough for Trap in the end. It felt really crazy, but it was just like, no, I don't want this army to get even bigger. I don't want him to force like a terrible fight before I have my next set of units ready, maybe some extra Immortals or Colossus down the line. So it was good enough. It felt very crazy and ambitious, but he kind of got away with it.
The thing that I'm slightly concerned about is the timing of this 5th expansion at the south. if this were getting started as that attack was getting kicked off, then yeah, it's done right when the attack wraps. But now we're seeing it's a little bit slow. You know, there's Immortals being produced out of 2 robotics facilities. Small Zealot attack at the top picks off small amount of SCVs. I think the most notable thing that we're seeing change out of Trap is this early gravitic drive, the Warp Prism's speed to allow some harassment to begin.
Yeah, he's going to be able to land some great storms with that, that's for sure. We know that he's capable of it. His Warp Prism Micro is going to be on point. It's so fast. I mean, like you see it quite often, and I think it's a fantastic upgrade, but I'm still always surprised when I see a speedy Prism. Yeah. I'm like, oh my goodness, okay, it's even faster than I thought it was. TY is not paying attention to his army, but he lands a sick EMP on the majority of those High Templars.
God. They're out. They have no energy anymore. And seeing all those Marine Marauder at the top side triggers Trap to begin this assault. The Planetary Fortress is done, but yet again, Trap commencing an attack that when I look at it on paper, I go, what are you doing, man? And he says, winning the game, dude. I can't believe he keeps breaking through these positions so calmly.
No, he has to be a little bit careful, I guess, even though there's still a lot of HP on a couple of these Immortals, and it does seem that TY is starting to run low on units. One tank is getting a couple of decent hits off, but the Zealot count, I think at this point, I don't know. Maybe TY stabilizes, but he's going to end up losing so many SCVs that you can't possibly be happy with that. Look at the couple of Zealots on the right side as well in that mineral line.
Just beautiful
play. Beautiful play by Trap.
Just sensational multitasking. The battle is still going on, and the choice to warp in sentries right here at the front. These Immortals just wailing on these structures. I mean, at this point, Trap isn't even going for that 4th base. He's already eliminated mining at the 3rd. And here, TY in an act of desperation is pulling the boys defensively. Never feels good. But TY has just enough to force the Warp Prism to cancel the warping, to pull everything back. As the expansion at the 3rd finally begins mining again. We see a 5-base Protoss. We see extended thermal lance at the robotics facility. Immortals continuing to pump out. There's a pair of Colossus for Trap and a 6th base at the top right. TY needs to deal damage right now.
I can't believe he's going up to 6 bases after just killing all those SCVs, dealing so much economic damage. Warp Prism is in kind of a bad spot, but it does have the speed upgrade.
Yeah, it can outrun Marine bullets. Don't worry, Roddy.
Yeah, no, I mean, Trap in the end, it feels a bit reckless this game, but he's still getting away with it. You can actually justify the majority of the moves that he's made because he's not all in with any of them. He is transitioning. He is getting double Robo Colossus behind all of this. Of course, he can still always warp in additional High Templars. I do feel that it would be nice for him to chill a little bit. It's like, mate, you're on 6 bases. You're catching up in upgrades. Like, that's the only thing that he's still a little bit behind. He doesn't need to be here, but he just wants to be here, Sean.
I mean, look at these incredible storms. I mean, even having some of his Zealots take the damage, but Trap's macro, as all of this is going on, is spectacular. In the 2nd base of TY, we see attempts to micro Marines and Marauders versus Zealots, but meanwhile, at the 3rd base for TY, Colossi, Archons, Immortals, annihilating all the workers there. I mean, I just can't believe TY is muscling his way forward in these situations. What is happening, Kevin?
I think what is happening is that Trap is very close to finally picking up this game. GG gets called. Trap wins game 1. Well, he was monster moding. I think when people talk about monster moding, that's kind of what monster moding looks like, right? It's just like 4 base or a 4-minute 3-base setup. Then I'll start attacking you when I don't have to. Then I'll make another attack when I don't have to. And then you land an EMP on 4 of my 5 High Templars. Well, it's a shame that the only storm I have left is going to be really good. And now my High Templars are Archons. Like, I don't know, man. It's just
is it me? I hope it's not just me. But like the 2 major attacks that Trap made this game, I saw it and thought, there's no way he should make the attack right now. And it was moving in. And I was like, big mistake, Trap. Here's the big moment for me to dunk on your decision making. And then he just calmly goes through. I mean, there was like turret, command center turret, perfect arc of tank, perfect spread of Marine Marauder. There's no clump 2 storm. And great, yeah, let's attack straight into that. I mean, there are going to be so many Protosses who lose so many games on the ladder after this series where they're like, I will attack and be like Trap. And everything's going to evaporate.
No, I'm absolutely 100% with you, especially when he blinked those stalkers forward as well on the left side of where that command center was. I was like, there's still 2 tanks. There's Marauders with stay. I was like, Trap, no, this is how you throw away a lead. Because, okay, the one mistake he did absolutely make, though, was that double Oracle attack. Like, what was that? Like, he was just like, 2 Oracles full of energy. He's like, I don't need those. And
actually, wait a minute. The attack, this game was nothing but attacks. 100% of attacks Trap made. I was like, that's a mistake. Every single one, I'm like, this is bad. This player sucks at this game, and he's just like winning every single fight. Yeah. I mean, this is to stop joking so much at my surprise. This is what expertise looks like when you look at an obvious battle and you do what every Protoss player would do. Well, yeah, cool. All the Protoss players already know you're not doing anything new. But when you look at an entrenched position and you go, yeah, I got this. That takes experience, man.
Yeah. And what I love as well is that he was always expanding at home. He was attacking while he was going up to 3 bases. He was attacking while he was going up to 4. Then he even attacked again while he was taking his 5th. And at one point he's like taking his 6th base after killing 35 SCVs. And he's like, I'm attacking again. What do you guys think about it? We're like, well, I mean, I guess you're going to win the game, mate. So whatever. Alrighty. Zen is once again going to be a stomping ground for the second map here on the left bottom side. We're looking at main base of the Barcode Protoss, that is Trap. Uh-oh.
And up in the top right, a stellar Terran player looking to tie up the series. It's TY.
All right, Sean, look at the double probe scout by Trap. Guys, this is not common, by the way. Or maybe one is actually supposed to proxy something, but it really feels like he is expecting to be proxied here on Zen. And I actually thought that the probe in the bottom side was going to find the barracks immediately, but it still might find the barracks before it's done. And then the other probe could help out as well. Okay, I guess the barracks will finish up. That's kind of insane. The double probe scout, he just knew. He could smell it.
I mean, this is the kind of push or the kind of proxy that, oh no, this is, all right, RNG favors the bold. TY's SCV doesn't wind up doing construction on the outside rim. Stayed inside the barracks safely. And I mean, I feel like if you asked me 4 years ago, on a scale of 1 to 10, how cheesy is this? You know, like nowadays, it's a 1, man. Anytime a Terran proxies, it seems like there is always a way to safely pull back and play a normal game of StarCraft.
I like that he's building the factory in the back of his main base. That's actually so cool, because normally when they build the factory at home, the factory is part of the wall off. So Trap right now scouts this, and he's probably like, whoa, are you proxying more stuff? Like, is there another barracks somewhere?
Oh,
is there
you're right.
a factory being proxied? I really like that by TY. It's small, but it can actually have a pretty big impact on the decision-making of Trap.
I mean, especially if you're not looking to do any sort of time-based pressure, if you're just looking to eventually pressure with that factory. I mean, it looks like Trap is gonna lose this probe. Trap just had the probe on patrol. There, it's gone. Wow. Huh. Well, let's see how Trap decides to play it out. When Trap is saying, I see nothing of what you're doing except a proxy, 2 refineries, and that's all.
Wow. And it's going to be a reactor on the factory. So I'm expecting him to go triple Reaper into double Hellion here. This is actually kind of a cool build. You will most likely expand behind this, but this can actually deal quite a bit of damage here. There we have that command center. It's a little bit later than it normally is because obviously the barracks was proxied, but I like this a lot. And if you have no shield batteries or your units are out on the map, Sean, as a Protoss player, you're in trouble because Reapers and Hellions are faster than any gateway unit that don't have Twilight upgrades. This is really cool by TY. I love it.
You know, there's this really sort of subtle aspect about just the command center. Oh, well, TY is just going to continue to be annoying. Try to pick off this one Stalker, and it looks like it's really important to keep those Reapers alive. Loses 1, but 1 Reaper for 1 Stalker is okay.
Yeah, but what I'm sad about is that he didn't raise the depots at home. And that meant that this adept just shaded in. So this adept got a lot of info, gets 2 SCV kills as well. And a Reaper for a Stalker is an okay trade. It's a great trade if you're playing a normal game. But with this kind of an opening, I feel like TY wants to kill a lot of probes. And then it's super important to keep these Reapers alive. By the way, there's no pylon on the low ground here. That means no shield battery. Like, Trap, you're playing like a madman here. Like, I would always get a battery against this stuff.
Well, now we see that Trap has perfect information. We see the Hellion Reaper Force move forward. Wow, more Reapers are still getting made. It didn't stop at 3. There's a 4th that was made. A 5th has just completed.
I mean, how do you survive this if you're trapped? I mean, all the stalkers are just going down. This is what I mean. These units are faster. Okay, there is a Warp Prism that can maybe save the stalker for a split second, but there is no shield battery here either.
Wow, I mean, it looks like TY's attempt at harassing, picking off some probes and getting some map control has turned into a near kill move. I mean, the expansion now has nothing mining edit. TY's comfortably pulling back, getting this command center up, is still building Reapers. How many Reapers are in this game? Still 3. I guess those are the fodder units, but I mean, the aggression continues. Medevac coming out, and Trap is going to try to do some counter pressure, but it looks like that's not going to be the right decision.
No, there's a Viking that can shut down the Prism. There is a tank for safety as well. This is going to get really messy, because I think there's a lot of potential in these Hellions and the Medevac if they go towards the main base. Right? Okay, the Warp Prism turned around, right? Where did the Prism go? Am I crazy? Oh, he's going for it. Wow. I don't know.
Lost track of it for a while. This game looks weird. This is not a normal looking game, right? We have this crazy aggression at the front, and now warping in Zealots in the main base. I mean, Trap, again, another one of these attacks that I'm like, there's no way that you should ever do this. But I mean, Trap is finding ways to deal damage to make it work. 5 SCVs are down. The Zealots are still alive.
But Hellions are in the main base, and that's going to be painful. There is a shield battery, but there are still 4 Hellions. Can they get one more good shot off? Yes, they can. Trap is only at 13 probes at this point. That's a disastrous situation for Protoss to be in.
This is a nutty game.
Yeah.
I mean, the recognition from TY that Zealots warped into the main base, okay, that makes it okay for the Hellions to then dart in, and then exploiting this wide lip by the natural expansion to then harass these probes. I mean, just very nice aggression into aggression into aggression from TY. It looks like finally people are going to stop attacking each other, but dude, Roddy, 22 workers have been picked off this game. 22 probes are gone.
And to go back to what you were talking about before that Prism flew in, I am with you once again. It really felt like that was an attack he shouldn't have made. And I think that this time we were actually proven right. Because, yeah, he got a couple SCVs, but those units, they should have been at home. They should have been protecting his mineral lines. Because the units that TY have, nobody wants to sit on Reaper Hellion. No, with Reaper Hellion, you want to trade, you want to pick off units. Trap just seems like he's like, all right, if I sit back right now, I will always lose. So he's going to try one more time, but it really feels like this is a desperation attack at this point.
I can't tell if this is an attack or harass or no, that's GG. Okay. Okay, this game had some weird twists and turns. You know, I'll note there is one of the weirdest aspects about Terran is that the biggest signifier of what your opponent's doing is what the timing of their expansion is. You know, if a Zerg player is not taking a third base at any point, for instance, alarm bells start to go off for you. And you just can't really apply this for Terran in a lot of circumstances, because if there's any reason for them to build on the high ground, well, maybe they're expanding, maybe they're cheesing, I don't know. And I really feel like TY completely messed with Zest. I mean, building the factory behind the mineral patch, but then getting scouted, and then the command center gets revealed with the Adept on the high ground, and theoretically, Trap goes, okay, I know exactly what's going on. And then immediately TY sends in a grand total of, I think, 5, 6, 7 Reapers were built that game, and Hellions. And then, like, an attempted counterattack happens, but no, TY was still building more aggressive units. Like, it was hard to ever get a really strong grasp on whether TY was choosing to start playing passively. Because the answer, as it turned out, was no, even with the existence of the command center.
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake that Trap made in that game is that probe. You mentioned it. It was just on patrol, right? Yeah, like, that's something that we often do as StarCraft players when we want to be a little bit lazy. It was like, well, he has nothing to kill my probe right now. So he just put it kind of carelessly on patrol in the main base. It was being chased by one SCV that was getting a hit off like every 7 seconds. And
it was not being microed. It was just,
shooting back and forth. It's like, okay, hit. But if that probe sees the factory, that is A, big tell, of course, that the factory is at home, and B, it would have seen that it was a reactor. And what can you make of reactors in the back of your main base? Well, Widowmines are Hellions, but that seems a little bit more like Hellions because they work a lot better together with the Reapers. So it felt that was just a bit sloppy and kind of lazy by Trap.
But I wonder if Trap had just not lost that very first Stalker. Maybe everything Trap does is great. I mean, units are really, really important in the early game, because if you're at late game and it's 50 stalkers versus something and you lose one, it's like, well, whatever. But if you have 2 stalkers and you lose 1 stalker, it's like half your army gone.
No, absolutely. And you need that DPS, right, to deal with the Reapers and Hellions early on, because you have so little to work with. So that's obviously the first unit is very important. There were a few more things. Nightshade is going to be the next map in our third best of 5 of the day. In the left top side, look at the main base of the Protoss, as we're all tied up for the first time today. It is Trap.
And in the bottom right, with some cute, cheeky aggression in game 1, what's it going to be today on Nightshade? It is TY. Well, looks like nothing too notable. No proxies. Looks like we have all the buildings in the main bases. It's very, very interesting twist that we're seeing.
It's going to be a normal scout as well for Trap. It's, of course, somewhat early, but I don't mind it after being proxied in the previous game. It felt that it was kind of sad because he really had the ideas like, all right, this is Zen. I know Terran players like TY. They like to proxy. So he went for the double probe scout, which is not something I think you see super often. And he did find the barracks, but it was just a little too late to actually prevent it from going up. If that probe, instead of going to the right side of his main in the last game, like it went up that ramp basically, if he would have gone straight to the barracks, if you get a cancel on that barracks, that's pretty much good game. Like, players tap out if they cannot complete their first barracks. And you can't blame a Terran for it, because they can't do anything, right, if they don't have a barracks.
Well, this is exactly what you want to see as Trap. You just want to see a command center started. This is, again, the biggest signifier of what a player can and can't do, because it's a gigantic investment in minerals and then the follow minerals for the workers. So if you're Trap, you now know you're going to be in more or less smooth sailing for a few minutes. It's difficult for the Terran player to necessarily mass up anything big, but, it's just the sort of cutesy, techie defenses. How do I stop some Hellions? How do I stop some, Widowmine nonsense? A lot of opportunities to be defensive as Trap, and yeah, he's going for the Twilight Council.
That's the one thing we have to mention here, is that this build is a tiny bit different for TY, because it's not your traditional Reaper fast expand. It's Marine, SCV Scout into a Reactor, so he's going to have a lot more Marines to work with than we normally see. And I wonder where this is gonna go, if it's similar to what we saw on the first map, where he kind of moves out with a couple of random Marines and then 2 Hellions, but that doesn't seem to be the case. We're actually getting Widowmines as well, so maybe a little Marine push in a natural with a Widowmine drop into the main base.
Well, it looks like the Adept is going to try to investigate if anything's going up. Can TY lift in time? He does. A little different from game 1. And, right now, I will again point to the fact that you don't have to build command centers at the expansion location. We've seen a lot of tricky moves from Terran players on 2 bases, not a 1-base aggression all in, but, some sort of 2-base tank Marine early push has been really disruptive for a lot of Protoss players. And we've also seen lots of ultra-fast third command centers. If it is in the main base, you don't know as Protoss. So yeah, getting this really nice fast blink for the defense to be able to sort of jump around is nice, but I do like this relatively swift robotics facility, just to be able to get some extra scouting information and see, is it some sort of 2-base aggression or not?
Yep, that is going to be important. Let's see if TY actually decides to run the Marines to the other side of the map. I kind of feel like if you don't make a Reaper, you're going to do this more often than not, but he might keep him at home and then just follow this up with a big Marine tank push a little bit later. I think Nightshade has a lot of good siege opportunities. You can obviously go on the right side of the third. You can also go in between the bases. I like where a lot of this is going for TY, and I'm really curious to see how Trap tackles this, because whenever I open up Twilight, I think this is really hard stuff to deal with. Now, obviously, it all starts with the Widowmine drop, and it's, I think, important for TY that you don't just throw it away. Stalkers are waiting for it. I wouldn't commit, and TY doesn't commit either.
There's only a pair of gateways as the Protoss, and, you can defend things on 2 gates, but you have to be really diligent about your production. 3 gates tends to be this norm. I just can always make enough. I always feel really safe. So the only way that Trap can sort of justify his use of these 2 gateways is if he's unbelievably diligent and careful about keeping every single stalker alive. It is so easy to lose a few stalkers, and then the Terran just goes into a snap push and you die.
Well, you know what's super interesting? Is that Trap started charge, and then he's like, no, I don't want charge right now. What I want is an Immortal, and I want extra units, because I know what's happening. I'm gonna get pushed. Now, this is something we saw earlier today, where somebody tried to deal with similar stuff without a charge. It didn't go very well. The Widowmine drop comes back into the natural. Trap is not paying attention. It's gonna be bad.
Oh,
8
no.
probes. 8.
A massive loss of probes, but the Stalkers are still alive, and the Stalkers are sort of, nope, we weren't sleeping on the job. We're up, here we go. Trying to rearrange themselves. But while all that is certainly good on the side of TY, let's contrast this game with the Zest U Thermal game, where we saw Zest build 5 shield batteries and then not really use them. We just see 1 at each base. We see the Liberator in the main, getting 3 probes, not huge, really careful positioning, and more than anything, it's the fact that Trap moved across the map with just 4 Stalkers to intercept the push. That was enough to cause TY to rethink engaging.
Yeah, but TY actually went up to 3 command centers really quickly as well, right? It almost felt that the moment he got scouted, he changed his mind. He's like, nope, my hand has been revealed. He knows what I'm going to do. So I'm going to switch gears here. And I like it, man. Like, he's only down 2 workers. That is perfectly fine for a Terran player in this matchup. Charge is super late. This Protoss army, to me, Sean, it feels clumsy, right? Like, what can you really achieve with the 2 random Immortals and 1 Sentry on the other side of the map? I mean, Trap apparently a lot. We've seen it in the previous games.
Yeah, right.
But I would say, like, come on, Trap. You cannot get crazy with this army right now.
You're like, Sean, what can you do? I'm like, well, if you want a wrong answer, I can give you that, Roddy, because let me tell you, all my analysis of when a Protoss can and can't attack was shattered in the first game of this series. Like, even this blink into the main, look at this. Trap is doing the kind of aggression that you don't really see that much anymore. Protosses like being very passive, but Trap is being extremely active with his small number of units. And here we see the gateway explosion. Again, there was just a pair for a long time, but now we have 3, 4, 5 more going down for a total of 8. It's all about buying time as Trap right now.
You know what's insane? It's like, I feel like it was just 12 seconds ago that I said, Trap is only, or TY is only down 2 workers. That is perfectly fine. Now he's down 15. Like, okay, he lost 2 SCVs to the Stalkers, and the Stalkers kept him a bit busy, and I guess the 3rd orbital was flying, but that actually went super quick. I have no idea how we went from 2 workers to a 17 worker deficit at one point. Obviously, TY is catching up now, and 7 gates, by the way. Jeez Louise, like, what?
Oof. Yeah, I mean, it kind of comes down to, yes, you can harass and kill workers, or you can harass and get your opponent distracted so that they don't build workers, which it seems like is a theme that we're seeing out of Trap. Trap has this War Prism with just a trio of Zealots in there, trying to poke and prod and find some opportunities, and very different from a lot of the games we've seen. This is one of the first times that TY's really been able to move out on the map and do stuff. Really good containment.
And Trap doesn't know. I think that's very important here. Now he's going to find out with that one little probe, but this is going to feel really awkward. He's like, whoa, wait a minute, my War Prism is on the other side of the map. He is going to drop the Zealots there, but he's sieging above a turret, which means that the Prism goes down. And now it's really important for Trap that he doesn't take a bad fight at home. We know Trap, he wants to have the Prism near the fight because he's great at those Storm drops. Well, he's not going to get those over here.
Now, where are there any ghosts, any chance of EMPs? No, it looks like we see some storms going down, but again, no Warp Prism in there. From the back, we see Zealots, Immortals, Stalkers coming in. Raven tries to do a little bit of action, but there's still more than enough Protoss units to push all of this back. I mean, Trap got these 9 gateways up just in time.
Oh my god, there's a big drop though. In the natural, a massive drop, a triple medevac drop, 17 probes got obliterated there. I think Trap is falling apart here, man. TY is running away with this game. He gets the Nexus and 18 probes. 18! That's insane.
A really simple 1-2 punch from Trap's going to try to come down here and defend this drop at the 4th, I guess 3rd now-ish. But there's a big loss of mobility, and here up in the main base, a drop's going down. Oh, no, I'm not going to say what kind of pylon it is, but it is one.
Say it.
Forge falls.
Say it.
It was an Artosis pylon. It's gone, man. And also the upgrades. I mean, TY, it feels like he just did one quick blow, and instantly Trap began to fall apart. Trap is kind of recouping in the middle of the map, trying to maybe make some action happen, but TY's not letting up with these drops.
Amazing. Honestly, an amazing game by TY. I know Trap is still in it, but he's down 30 workers. He's down in army supply. At this point, you're basically hoping for the Hail Mary storm, where it's like, can I storm his entire army? Can it all stand in one place? Obviously, the answer most of the time is going to be no. He's going to try, though, and the first storm is actually pretty good. It's now or never land for Trap. He really needs to win the game right here, right now. It seems impossible, but he does have quite a few units here.
What were the upgrades? Just a +1 attack upgrade. That is it for Trap. The Immortals dealing a lot of damage. The Storms ripping through SCVs. Yet again, Trap is pulling off one of these attacks that I am certain will not be able to do anything. And I'm wrong. He is putting some serious pressure onto TY, warping in more Templar at the back. Is he going to morph those into Archons immediately?
Oh my God.
Sentry at the bottom of the ramp.
That's a full medevac. Okay.
Medevac.
Wow.
Barely pulls to the back. Ghost Academy gets picked off. Meanwhile, the other side of the map, there's no aggression at all. It's just 3 bases up and running right now for Trap. Trap is continuing to apply pressure. What is happening here?
There is still so much HP on these Archons as well. I mean, TY doesn't even know where to micro his units to. They're caught in all kinds of awkward spots. It felt that Trap was super dead in this game. It really felt like he was just down and out, and this was going to be a desperation attack. But Sean, I actually think he's doing it. This is ridiculous.
51 workers are down. 51 workers have been knocked out. And yeah, we see some EMPs going down. Sure, but does it matter? I mean, Trap's just continuing to warp in. There's so much health, and there's just not that much bio. Another beautiful force field at the bottom of the ramp, preventing anything from retreating. At the third base, we see Zealots wailing away at an empty mineral line for TY. The ramp still being controlled by Trap.
Kill the Prism. Okay, the Prism finally goes down. Now, this is an insane spot. TY taps out.
What?
I mean, I actually think, and this is going to sound crazy, that was a bit early, actually, I think. Because, yes, he's down 16 workers, but with 3 orbital commands, Trap didn't rebuild a single probe. All the probes that he lost, he was only at 34. I think going up the main ramp there against the Terran, that's impossible, right? You can't run up that tiny choke point.
Yeah.
But insane that Trap won this game, because I was actually smiling at how well TY was playing it, right? You said like the simple 1-2 punch, but I love how long he dragged that fight out on the right top side. He's like, oh no, you flanked my tanks, I'm gonna run away. And then Trap is like, oh, I'll chase.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's like, bam, in the natural. I was like, okay, that's a sick move, TY. That's a game-winning move. Well done. And then Trap is like, no, guys, because I know how to make attacks work. It really shouldn't work.
I had a total lean back moment, right? Like I was leaning forward at that attack, I was going in, and then you were like, Sean, there's a drop, the expansion. Go over there, the expansion is gone. I mean, that got deleted in an instant. And I just went, oh, all right, and that's the game. I just like totally like, okay, cool. And then Trap's like, all right, I lost all of my shit. Let's win this. Like I'm like, okay, well, that is okay. There's a couple of things I want to note. First of all, the Immortal in this matchup, it's just not as I'm called late game as something like a Colossus Disruptor, High Templar, these big like sort of AoE meat units, but the Immortals always seemed like a nice little stepping stone to the next thing that you're going to do. I never view the Immortal as like, I am going to go for Immortals in this game and win with Immortals. They're a great thing to build when you get the robotics facility for observers. You see a push coming, okay, get an Immortal. But then just to continue to build Immortals and then to know, no, I actually have enough to push through. The Immortals dealt like thousands of points of damage in that final engagement at TY's natural. I mean, that is just a stunning recognition of how to win. Because if you're a Protoss, most of them will look at that spot and go, I lost my second base. It's time to just defend for a long time. I have no hope. But instead, Trap just keeps finding these angles to attack.
Yeah, Trap is like, I have no hope, so I'm not going to make any more probes. I'm going to attack, and I'm going to try to make it happen. And he had like 3 or 4 storms to work with, and they weren't even the sickest storms of all time. But what they did achieve is that they forced TY's units to be all over the place, and it was just an almost impossible fight. And I love what you said about the Immortals, but those Archons as well. They just stayed alive forever. They got splash damage off on all the SCVs. Anyway, what a sick game we just saw on Nightshade. This one is probably going to be a little shorter. In the right top side of Eternal Empire, we're looking at the main base of the man leading 2-1. It is Trap.
And in the bottom left, the gentleman who technically won last game, but then unfortunately wound up losing. It's TY. And I can't stress enough.
Sean, sorry. I was like, yeah, take that, Dario. Because I predicted TY to win. And I know a lot of people predicted Trap to win this series. And I was like, yeah, look at TY go. He's playing so well. Like, I was legit smiling. I was like, man, he's playing incredibly good. This was very high level play. He deserves this game. And then Trap is like, I'm Protos. Like, I'll run to the other side of the map.
I talked about my lean back moment where I'm okay, that's good. Work's done for game number 3. I mean, like, players do have that experience where they'll do a big attack, wipe everything, and you'll mentally go, all right, cool, I did it, nice. And you feel yourself mentally relax a little bit. And I mean, TY, I don't know if this is a planned build or if this is a sort of flustered reaction from the last game, but we see 2 barracks immediately kicking into production as the proxy. And look at this. Bunker on the low ground. But a Zealot was produced.
Yep, and no expand yet. This is obviously not what you want to face here. If you're TY, you're hoping for an expand without a Zealot. Instead, there is no expand and there is a Zealot. First SV got picked off. This bunker is going to be cancelled as well. I think this is a horrible scenario for TY. An absolutely disastrous start here.
What is this barracks doing right now? Is this just, okay,
high ground vision.
Try to get... Yeah, but I mean, you're getting high ground vision for a super, super, super late bunker. I mean, I don't know if TY tries to do anything right now, or this is just going to become the powerful scout barracks.
Oh, it would have been sick if he landed it there, actually, to block the Nexus from going down. I would have liked that.
Yeah. Then you just build an Android Nexus.
I mean, obviously, you can say that TY did managed to achieve that Trap's expand is a lot later than Trap would have liked to have it, but in the end I don't even feel that Trap really overreacted here. He even cancelled that shield battery that he was making. He's like, just in case TY is super all in here and really wants to rush me with Marines, I will make sure that I get a battery. But then he cancelled the battery. He's like, nope, I don't need it. I mean, I like it for Trap quite a bit.
Well, at this point we have 1 Zealot and 2 Stalkers, and what I would typically imagine is that this means, yeah, you're definitely not going to be able to break through. But knowing that it's Trap, I'm sure this is going to be the game-ending blow.
No.
This is going to be it.
Well, without a bunker, you would have been on. I can't believe that, by the way. That SCV was like, this is the last thing I'll do when I'm alive. And it like finishes the bunker. How did that SCV finish the bunker? What?
I want to know what that feels like in real life, right? You right before you clock out for the day, just oh, he did a good job. He'll be missed, and he finished the bunker.
Yeah, it's like that was his last thing that he wanted to achieve as a human being. He's like, got the bunker done. And to be honest, that actually made a difference, because otherwise another SCV would have to show up. That SCV could get picked off as well by the Zealots and 2 Stalkers. But yeah, if that bunker isn't here, this would have been horrible for TY. But obviously the bunker is a necessity there against the Stalkers. So it's all good. This game will continue. But Trap reads these kind of scenarios so well. He's like, oh, cool. You proxied? You didn't do much? That means I get 3 Nexus 3.5 minutes into the game, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Like a 3rd Nexus before a Robo, before any additional gateways. So Twilight Council with Blink. Yeah, if I have 4 Stalkers with Blink, I'm fine, man. I mean, especially knowing that there's 2 barracks that are trying to float their way home very, very slowly. I would assume you're going to be a little low on Marines as the Terran player. So this is a very cute drop using the 4 Marines that were made in the center of the map and a single Widow Mine. Given the unit count of Trap, I mean, this kind of cutesy tech play can often deal a lot more damage than you think.
Yep, and don't forget there's 2 Hellions out on the map as well. So when the units from Trap go into the main base to take care of this drop, I like the Umbrella with the Wind Mine. This is when the 2 Hellions show up, but Trap is aware of this as well. And Trap is just like, well, I guess I just don't mind of my main for a little bit. I just don't want to lose any probes. So far, Trap is handling this pretty well.
Yep, and I mean, not an overproduction of Hellions, just a few, trying to pick off just a few. And it looks like, escape with the medevac, escape with all the Marines. Overall, just retaining a good number of units. TY is going to maybe pick off 1 or 2 extra probes. And yeah, this actually feels really nice.
Mm-hmm. It's turning into something, right? Like, it felt like, TY, you really need to get something done in this game. And he's like, well, at this point, he lost 2 Hellions and a Widow Mine, but now he just killed 8 workers, a lot of lost mining time as well. So I definitely feel like that was a massive success for TY. That doesn't mean he's suddenly winning this game, but it keeps him in the game, and that's already quite something.
Well, it's at this point that both players are just going to be in good old build-up mode. I mean, you're going to need stim, you're going to need combat shield, an upgrade started. Protoss doesn't have terribly many gateways, just kind of a nice period of calm. Yeah, there's 4 Marines trying to do something here, but with Blink Stalkers, these Marines aren't going to be able to interrupt Trap's gameplay.
I mean, a single forge goes down. I wouldn't even hate double forge here. Like, double forge used to be the standard, but then at one point people were like, it's too hard to really make double forge work. There's too many pushes that can just overwhelm you because you don't have enough units. But this game is kind of weird. It's obviously offbeat because of the way it started off with the proxy barracks. I think this is a moment where you could afford double forge, but knowing Trap, he maybe just wants to get Storm a lot quicker as well, and that's obviously perfectly fine too.
Yeah, or even a 4th base much quicker alongside this. We see the hallucinated Phoenix just enters into the main base and sees everything. There's a total of 5 gateways. All right, I lied. There were a total of 5 gateways being produced, and that's generally not quite enough to hold off a number of the pushes, but we see gateways 6 and 7 hot on the heels.
Yeah, it's cool as well to see that almost all the Protoss players seem to agree right now that you should get attack before armor. Because if you would have said this to anyone like 9 months ago, they would have been like, no, you need armor against Terran. Like, armor is more important. Otherwise, your zealots die too quickly. But it really seems that right now the emphasis is on getting that attack upgrade instead of armor. So the Blink Stalkers, they can just put in a little more work when those armies are pushing to the other side of the map. You can shave off a few more units. You can maybe have a more successful time shutting down medevacs and stuff like that. It's funny how those little trends keep on changing in StarCraft 2.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's that general principle of if you're mostly ranged, you get the attack first. If you're mostly melee, you get the armor first. And there's enough pushes that come where the only way you can deal with it is to quickly build Immortals and Stalkers.
Wow, the SCVs are coming along as well. I was like, what's that on the minimap? That's a lot of reinforcement. The SCVs being pulled. There is no storm. It was just, it was a feedback drop. He just dropped the one High Templar, feedback the Raven.
Storm hasn't even been started yet.
No, but he just needs to survive it, Sean. And with Guardian Shield, with some Archons, it feels like there is potential there. The Raven goes down, had no impact in this game at all. Force Fields go down as well. A couple of SCVs get picked off. I mean, this is it. If Trap survives this push, if he keeps this base alive, Trap will win the series. It's not going to be easy. There's a lot of firepower in all those Marines, though.
Beautiful positioning on the north side. Gonna try to be able to flank, but oh no, they're a little bit late to the party. The bottom side of Zealots gets annihilated, and now TY is able to pull the Marines to the other side of the tanks, let the tanks soak the damage, and now most of the Marines stay alive. I mean, there's 22 workers down, but those are the ones that were pulled. So right now, TY's economy is going just fine. TY is breaking through, still has 2 tanks alive at the backside, plenty of medevac, light, and energy. There are no SCVs mining at TY's natural at all. This is an all-in, and it is good enough to tie the series up 2-2.
Yeah, that was maybe one of those moments where having armor would have been better than having attack, right? Because there were so many Zealots, and the Marines did have +1. And if Marines have an upgrade advantage over Zealots, they start doing incredibly well. And I think you mentioned as well, like all the Marines ran towards the right side because the majority of the Zealots were coming in from the top. But there were 2 sentries, and both those sentries were on the right side where, yeah, there is an Immortal, and it's really cool that you're covering the Immortal with Guardian Shield. But those 15 Zealots that came in from the north side, they really needed that Guardian Shield. So unfortunate for Trap. And what a weird best of 5, right? It felt like this game, Trap's gonna win. And TY's like, no, I'll win. And then previous game is like, TY's got it. It's like, no, Trap is like, I actually have it.
Every single game, I feel like, has gone the opposite direction of how it seemed like it was going to go 1 minute before the GG. And it's always with really small things. Like, I think that's a great point you bring up about like the positioning of the Zealots relative to the Guardian Shield, because if the units converge at the same time, then you have an amazing attack as Trap. You have just defended by, you know, pincering everything. But if they're desynced, if you do the right first and then as those die, the left comes in, the Terran just essentially won like a 2v1 twice, right? You beat this half an army and then you beat that half an army. And it's I think it was just that small and that subtle of an error. And maybe even instead of having the Blink Stalkers pinch from below, to be in the front of the army, to maybe just slow it down. Again, 10-15 seconds is enough. Yeah. But I mean, both these players really pushing each other to the limits.
Yeah, it felt that those Stalkers, they had no impact at all in that battle. And obviously the Stalkers are not what's going to win you the straight up fights when you just stand there and you trade blows. But having 6 or 7 Stalkers in the back line, getting some shots off on either Medevacs or just Marines one at a time, like they have +1, they deal a little more damage, would have been very useful. These Stalkers were kind of like, we're going to defend, we'll help out. They blink forward, they get obliterated by tanks. It's like, well, good luck, Zealots. You know, it's on you guys now. So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because, gosh, I mean, the feedback on the Raven and then the blink pickoff on the Raven, and I was like, ooh, this is not looking good. And there was even, like, one quick moment where TY's units didn't move for, like, 2-3 seconds, maybe just doing something back in the main base, dropping some mules or whatnot. And it just looked like the force fields were going to pick off, slice the entire Marine army in half. And then TY was like, all right, I'm good now. And then put Trap to bed.
And I sent a question mark to our admin, and then the admin responded with a question mark as well. I was
Hold
like,
on. Ooh, I want to be part of this. Hold on, let me just.
I was like, map 5, you know, like
5, yeah.
And he's like, oh, it's coming up. I was like, well, I'm just surprised, you know, because like all the other maps is like, as soon as we're out of game, it's like, bam, it's up, bam, it's up. And on his one, we were sitting like, guys, it's 2-2, right? We're all tied up. Everyone is aware of the fact that it's all tied up. But yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, typically in tournaments, players have the option for a break after game 2 and game 4 of a best of 5. And I would not be surprised if each of these players just needed to stand up and just squeeze their faces, like, what is happening? Just like recuperate after that. Oh, yes, the best map in the map pool. Golden Wall will be the final map.
You know, I love it, but I'm going to go even more insane. I love purity in industry, man. And I know that this is not a popular opinion, but I think purity in industry is awesome.
Listen, I'm on Team Kevin here. You are correct. That is also a very sweet map.
Yeah, it's like, I just take the gold, like almost every game. I recall pros to the gold. And then after I take the gold, I take the bases with the rich gases. So first I have all the minerals in the world. Then I have all the gas income in the world. Like, yeah, the games don't look similar to Everdream and Nightshade, but I don't care. Like, I'm having a ball playing on the purity in industry.
I've always been tickled by this trend that started in Brood War in the OGN StarLeague, in the OSL, which is you have a small map pool of like 4 maps. One of them is really solid, like, you know, something that would be in rotation for maybe 9 months to a year. 2 of them would be also 6 to 9 months. And then you'd have one absolutely insane map that just didn't do anything that any other map had done. And those led to some of the sweetest games and also some of the most embarrassing tournament matches of all time. And I really love Golden Wall and Purity in Industry just for being a little daring with their design. Because, you know, you're right. Like, it's not about that you have to play different. It's that it's unresearched enough that all the games feel different from each other on that map. And it's really fun.
I gotta say, I gotta give kudos to my pro gamers out there, because I do feel they kind of embraced Golden Ball, right? We see it a fair amount of time. Even in best of 3s, it will make it into it. And the games often play out indeed in a very unique scenario, where sometimes all the action takes place at the bottom, sometimes it all takes place at the top, sometimes the goals are being taken immediately, sometimes not forever. I don't know. I love the variety that this map brings, and I love how often we see it. We have our first Game 5 of the day. Ooh, and this is obviously going to be awesome. Golden Ball. This is our Terran. It's TY.
Oh, okay. I'm going to need to do this introduction real fast. In the bottom right, considered by many pros to be the best PvT in the world, hoping to close it out in this game versus TY, it is Trap. Now, look at this juicy little move we see from TY. He has a single SCV mining from this southern wall. And look at the perfect rally timing of the SCVs to make sure that he is continuing to mine there. I think he's just going for his second base at his protected natural.
That is a chance. I actually think he's going to proxy stuff. No, I mean, it's weird that he doesn't have gas yet. So
yeah,
that could be it. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I like that he's blocking out the probe as well. He's like, nope, you are not going to see anything here. This is already a bit of a tell, because why is there a depot there that's not being built, right? So clearly TY is hiding something, and you're right. He is just going to expand now. It's a gasless expand. Wow, that's so crazy. You don't see that ever.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it kind of begs the question, why don't you see this ever? And I mean, without going into a lot of detail, it's basically, dude, do you realize how hard it is to defend even a wide ramp at a natural expansion? Do you know how challenging that is? So most players get gas to be able to have access to tanks, to be able to have access to harassment options like Widow Mines and so on. But I mean, in this spot, you go, okay, well, I have a fully protected second base. There is nothing that can get in here without a Warp Prism, until obviously way later into the game. And defending a thin ramp with buildings that are already pre-walled off, yeah, that's actually super possible.
And you know what this achieves? Sorry, no, go ahead.
No, I'm just I want to hear what you have to say, Kevin. I have completely abandoned my train of thought. Tell me.
No, I want to say that Trap is obviously mining out his back minerals as well. But I think what you always achieve with this as a Terran player is that the Protoss gets paranoid, right? It's like, what's happening? Am I being proxied? Is there a factory going up on the left side of my main? Is there a starport there as well? Is this a one base all in? So you're a little hesitant on chrono boosting workers. You don't want to do that because nobody likes to be sitting on 35 probes when you're being one base all in. So right now, Trap is a bit freaked out. He's like, okay, something weird is coming. What is it? I just need to figure out what it is. And then TY is like, actually, mate, nothing is coming. I'm going for the most economic opening in the book here, which is a gasless fast expand. And yeah, economically, this is going to be a fantastic game for TY. Trap is going to figure it out, but it's quite late.
Oh, here comes the probe from Trap along the southern side. And as amazing as it feels to get up a base way earlier than you're supposed to, or to even get up a hidden base, it is essential in StarCraft 2, especially in Legacy of the Void StarCraft 2, to be aggressive, to have presence on the map, to be denying bases, to be picking off probes, to be seeing opportunities to harass. And in this position, that's my big question for TY. He obviously has a super fast command center. This probe is now getting to see everything. What is the aggressive opportunity that TY is going to set up for himself?
Yeah, I'm a bit worried here for TY because he has no bunker here, right? And no bunker means that Stalkers are going to have the time of their life against Marines. I actually think it's a bit crazy he didn't get a bunker here. Yes, there is a Widow Mine, but he's going to get scouted. And this is always going to be awkward because he's not going to have Stim. He doesn't have a Cyclone. He doesn't have a tank yet. There is a Warp Prism on the way as well. Oh, I don't really like it. I'm worried. I'm very worried for TY here. If he survives all of this without taking too much damage, he's in a great spot. But I feel like you're always going to take damage here because he has no bunker.
Oh no, 4 Stalkers. He's going to be able to one-shot these Marines. And now TY has to pull back. Oh gosh, I mean, there's just not enough stuff here for TY. There's no medevac out to heal this. There's no stim, there's no combat shield. And now we just see Trap doing the simple, straightforward move of warping in Stalkers. There's only 2 gateways worth of Stalkers, though.
Yeah, it almost felt that TY completely forgot about the fact that Trap can also mine out his back minerals, Yeah, it's great that you can do it, but your opponent can do the same thing. He's going to even end up losing the depot here. And suddenly there is a 12 worker advantage. There is also a Robo Bay being produced already, so Trap will have very quick access to Colossus. And I was worried for Trap at first, but I think things look great for him at this point.
Yeah, I mean, TY is going to go, okay, fine, I'll just put my command center in the normal spot. He's taking his, I guess, other natural, you'd call it. TY is going to be able to push this back, now has enough of a force to repel these Stalkers. But I mean, even so, Trap is just not scared of throwing these Stalkers in the face of these Marine tank forces.
He even has a few more units at the bottom. What it does, he's going to run Stalkers into the main. Okay, Trap, this is where you get a little crazy. You keep on doing this, but he gets the tank. Can he get the Viking as well? He's so close to getting the Viking, but he doesn't get the Viking yet. He will get it in the end. And it saves the Warp Prism as well. Are you kidding me?
Now, Trap is doing all of this without Blink, and making attacks with Stalkers without Blink is only something that the bravest boys do.
Yes.
Like, I cannot like anybody who sends in a Stalker without Blink has to be certain that they are about to win, or they have to be Trap. Like, those are the only 2 situations where it's okay.
Now, the cool thing is that he sniped the Viking. That was the only Viking that was out on the map. Now we've got a Warp Prism with speed, and is that 2 Disruptors inside of it? Not 1, but 2 Disruptors inside of it. By the looks of it, right? I can't see it for some reason. Yeah, it is 2 Disruptors. There we go. Oh man, this is so hard to deal with. I mean, there's no stim. How are you gonna avoid Disruptor shots without stim?
And oh my god, TY is going for Combat Shield instead of stim. Looks like TY is going for some type of all-in again, and the Disruptors are pulling back. Trap is going to be able to have Disruptors and a Colossus here. for this attack. Extended Thermal Lance is being researched. I mean, do you pull back as TY? Do you commit? The Disruptors are coming from behind.
No, I don't think there is any pulling back. I think he kind of needs to win the game here. It's really important. He always has one tank siege. Here come the Disruptors. They fire Purification Nova. No. That's a lot of Marines that go down. But that War Prism is very low in HP. Oh my goodness. Ooh, that was close.
And what a brilliant interference matrix on that Colossus to send it back. Didn't really take very much damage at all. But at this point, TY is yet again facing Purification Novas. Small number of Stalkers and critically one full health Colossus. We see a Banshee coming in. I mean, TY is throwing everything in these production structures at.
Yeah, he has a second tank coming in, but it feels that he is going to run out of units real soon. I mean, obviously, it needs to happen here for TY. He needs to do a lot of damage, but there's going to be 2 Colossus, a lot of gateway units coming in from every angle. It's been an insane series, but I think that this is going to be it for TY. I think that Trap should have enough units, and I say that, and he still doesn't get the tanks. Uh-oh.
And then we have one of the... I don't think I've ever seen this before. Banshees are picking off a lone Colossus.
Oh my goodness, that's...
I don't recall. No. Will it get out in time? No.
What?
Oh, recall. Now down.
Is it happening again, Sean? Is it a... Oh, Thermal Lens was unpowered as well. He still doesn't have Thermal Lens. I felt that Trap had this game again. What is wrong with this series? It feels like every time someone is about to win, they end up losing.
I mean, if those extended thermal lances do finish, it means that Trap is going to be able to harass from a long range away. And remember, no stim whatsoever. These are just combat shield Marines. But frankly, if you're TY, you might just be planning around extended thermal lance anyways. Because, I mean, when do you face a Protoss that doesn't have that, huh?
I mean, he has tanks, right? Like, okay, the Marines don't have a lot of micro potential, but the Marines are just there to protect the tanks. There are Banshees, the extra SCVs that showed up, repaired the low HP tank. They repaired the Raven as well. We could even see an auto turret here or another interference matrix. The Zealots are coming in from the top side. This is it. Trap wants to break this, but the bunker is up. The Banshees are dealing so much damage. One tank does finally go down.
Interference Matrix finally has enough energy. And TY, look at this hero tank that's on the high ground at the left. Siege, unsiege, siege. TY, you can tell, is feeling the pressure, is feeling the heat. With every second that passes, more infrastructure completes in Trap's main base. And now with extended thermal lance and enough gateway units, the Zealots are pushing everything back. And finally, the push from TY seems like it's crumbling.
Yeah, finally there is charge as well, and that is going to be enough. GG.
Whoa!
Trap wins it.
What a series, Kevin! That was incredible.
Even all the way to that final fight, right? I was like, this push is never going to work. And then it's like, oh my goodness, is it actually working? Then he gets that Colossus, even the recall gets wasted. I'm like, what? And he unpowers Thermal Lens. I'm like, no, not again. But I mean, Trap was just too rich there in the end. So even if the start of that entire skirmish wasn't pretty, he just had too much income and was able to warp in enough units to just barely squeeze out the victory. What an insane... Well, I don't know. How do you summon this up, this best of 5?
You know, I feel like it makes sense why players say this guy's the best Protoss vs. Terran in the world. Because there's a real difference between, you know, going to a Liquipedia and like looking at stats and like following tournament results and stuff like that. There's a difference between that and then actually playing against the player. And when we watch Trap play, there were countless times where we went, wait, what is this attack? And if we're saying that, and we watch a lot of StarCraft, imagine if you're the player who is experiencing this attack, and you're going, wait, what? A lot of the times, you just don't see these kinds of attacks. Except when you have a new Smurf account, and you're climbing up the ladder, and someone does it, and you just clean up all their stuff, take your ladder points, and move on to the higher leagues. Like, the insanity of a blinkless Stalker attack on Golden Wall after you've caused the expansion to lift. The insanity of I've just lost my third base, let me go on an Archon Immortal counter push and clean up. Trap's judgment with when it is safe to attack is clearly head and shoulders above other Protosses.
And I think that's a beautiful message to end this on, Sean. We're going to head over to a very quick break. And after that, we'll be back with our next series, which I believe is going to be Innovation versus Sue. It could also be Cure Special, but it's either one of those two. We're making sure that all the Korean players can finish up their matches in time. I think it's been a very exciting day so far, and we are not even close to finishing yet. We've got 5 more best of 5s coming your way. So hopefully, you guys, you have fun. We're head over to a very quick break.
We stand as one.
Are